agenda. We have the minutes from the regional board meeting on Monday, September 9th, 2019. May I have a motion?
Second.
Franny moved. Ken second. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Payroll warrants, 1,011 and 1,014.
So moved. Second.
Franny moved. Ken second. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Vendor warrants, 1,010, 1,012, 1,013.
So moved. Second.
Franny moved. Ken second. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. In your packets, if you got them, or your Dropbox, there should have been the cash flow and the revenue expense reports. I don't believe there's anything there that we have to discuss. We need to get on to committee reports. Due to the fact there were no committees this month, we won't have any reports for those. Action items.
There was one committee that met this month, which was policy.
Oh,
They
that's
met
right.
last week.
You're right, they did, sorry.
I'm not sure, I was at a meeting upstate, I'm not sure
I was not feeling well.
who was there. But I know the policies, they're warning tonight, which are on the action items for dress code, computer use. And I know that the committee's also working on policy on building use and facilities use. That's the other thing that they're talking about.
All right.
That's all I know.
Well, here's the good news. We'll go right from there into the action items, and we're talking about nominations, and I'm going to leave that up to you, Mike.
All right, so in your Dropbox or your paper packet is a nomination for our interim school counseling coordinator. This is replacing Stephanie Peters. It's for Lisa Harrington Redding. You can see her information there. Her background check is on file and completed. She has a master's degree in guidance and counseling with experience in MAUHS from October of 06 to 19, and some various other qualifications. And Lisa is working for us at .8 right now, and that seems to be working out fairly well. So we will reevaluate whether that needs to be a full-time position or not going forward.
So this is wrong? It says full-time?
Yeah, it got copied wrong. It is, the actual one is .8.
Is that also the salary?
The salary is correct, yes. Yeah. We don't have anyone that works part-time, so we're so used to putting one on there as FTE. I think someone just missed it, so we did fix it for the online version is fixed. That's what I have.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, the bus.
You have action on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, folks. I'm signing these warrants and I lost control. Okay, may I have a motion, please, to accept Lisa? Moved by Franny, seconded by Ken. Any further discussion?
Do you think .8 is really enough? We've had a full-time.
It's always been full-time. Right now, we're trying at .8. It is just an interim for right now, so it is working out.
How long do you think the interim is gonna be interim?
I'm not sure.
Assuming that we don't make it permanent. I mean, how long is the trial?
I think we'll probably re-advertise the position, maybe they're .8 or full-time, probably after the first of the year. Give us some time to shake out. It seems to be working very well right now, so it's hard when anyone's new and transitions into a position, but the feedback we have is very good for her.
Yeah, I know who she is, and I've worked in the past with.
Yeah. She's been able to step right in and really pick up the pieces, which is great.
No further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Welcome, Leanne. I'm going to hand you a job. Okay, we shall move on to the bus bids.
So as you know, we've been trying to buy a bus since the spring. The last finance committee meeting, you approved us up to, I believe it was $65,000 or $70,000 to purchase a new Type A minibus. We did go out to bid for that. We did receive two bids, one from New England Transit Sales and one from DATCO Sales and Service. As you can see, the bids were very close to each other in price. However, our transportation coordinator, Tom Haskins, recommends the one from New England Transit Sales. The bid was a little bit more complete. There was some more information about the type of features that the bus has, and also included like 8 different seat choices, color-wise, and things like that. And the other company didn't have those options. So we are recommending the New England Transit Sales for $53,915. That bus will be anywhere from 90 to 100 days out once we place the order. So, and that was also true for the DATCO Sales and Service. That was both the same estimated delivery date on that, which is crazy. Yeah, it's hard to believe. But evidently, they're not just sitting on lots to be sold. They need to be made. So, live and learn. But we're hoping to have it by the first of the year, so would be the goal.
I'd like to have a motion for
Move that.
purchase.
Second.
Franny made the motion and Ed made the second. Any further discussion?
It's below our estimate, so.
Yeah,
We're
far
it's
below.
well
actually.
below it by, what, 12, 13,000?
At least, yeah. Yeah, we would have paid half of this amount for one of the used ones that we
Right.
looked at with, 100,000 miles on it. So I feel I'm really happy. I was surprised they came in at that low, actually.
Good price.
So,
Submit the order tomorrow.
yeah, we're going to, as long as you approve it, it's going.
All right, no further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to go on to warnings of policies. You want to do that, Lynn? Are you prepared?
I'm not prepared.
Okay, then I'll let one of us do it. How's that?
I said I was prepared, but if somebody wants to do it.
No, I thought you said you weren't prepared. My apologies.
I wouldn't have a meeting if I'm not prepared in terms of having a policy meeting. And we had a policy meeting, and in attendance was Jackie and Art, and in terms of board members, and we had information that was supplied to us to study from our previous meeting. What I don't have is the actual date, but we did have several policies to pass on to the board today for review. And one of those was the dress code policy. And hopefully everybody had an opportunity to read that. And what we wanted to do in this particular policy was to recognize that we have sending students that come in from a variety of schools, and that we also had additional dress requirements for the type of classes that we have at this center, and they had to realize that those things are requirements and they supersede whatever they had at the ascending school in order to be part of the class. And that the really essence of the particular ones, because of the nature of the different classes for auto mechanic, forestry and so forth, those particular instructions in terms of what they can and can't do, and to be in violation of those, the safety rules and other things along those classes will be pointed out in those particular classes. So the policy addressed that. And so what we're asking you to do is warn that particular policy tonight.
I'll move that for warning, policy number 5080C.
Second.
Franny moved it. Ken seconded.
How
Discussion?
come we didn't insert the word safety into the specific instructions for some of the training programs? So that's really what we're talking about.
No, it's not. We're talking about dress all the way for whatever is required for those particular classes, not just a safety aspect. But I don't know exactly. There are some other things that may be in cosmetology and other things that are different. They're so different that the crust of the policy was to make sure that everybody know that we had one, and that they are requirements and they will be tailored to each individual class to make sure. So the administrative regs will be putting the focus on those particular things. That?
Okay.
Yeah, it does say dress and grooming is necessary to assure a safe, caring, and productive learning environment. So I believe safe has been spelled out.
The second policy that we have.
You want to move this one first?
Oh, I thought we.
No, I didn't know if there's other discussion.
Oh, okay, other discussion, so.
No other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Policy 5080C has been warned. Go ahead, Leanne, thank
Next
you.
policy number, Art, that you have over there is
6141C,
and that one was.
computer network and internet use.
We spent quite a bit of time on internet use policy, and that policy is up for for warning here tonight. In our discussion, there was a lot of discussion about how to make sure we control what was available in terms of students and the equipment and the use of the equipment at this modern day and time, and so forth, with some words changed in there to be all inclusive in terms of things so that we won't have certain things that are popping up at the last minute associated with the internet use policy. So hopefully you have a chance to read that, and this is a warning for that, and if you have comments that we need to go back and look at that, we'll be more than happy to do that at our next meeting.
Leanne, can I just add a couple things to that?
Yes, please.
During our meetings, just if you notice on the bottom, this is replacing at least 3 policies and combining them into one. We used to have a separate network use and a computer use and internet use. And as Leon said, as things evolve so quickly with technology, really they've been combined into this one policy and try to modernize the language in it and make it more appropriate for today's standards. And this is a policy that I think the rewrite is really good on it and gives us some more leverage with some more generic terms and things like that. It was kind of not funny, but interesting to look back at language even just from a few years ago that was in the policy that doesn't even apply to today anymore. The technology doesn't exist or it's evolved so much. It's just fascinating to me. That's all. Those are my side comments on it.
Well, all the students have access to the Wi-Fi system.
They do, yeah. Yeah.
When an MAU student is over here with a Chromebook provided by MAU, is there any kind of conflict between our policy and what they might do with a Chromebook here? I realize this applies to our computers that they're using, but I'm just wondering if they're...
So it addresses this in the policy by any access through our network or our connection. This is what covers that. Some students connect through our network, some connect through MAU, some they connect through their personal devices. I mean, today's world is there's just full of connections, all over the place. So we honestly, knock on wood, we haven't really seen much of an issue with that. The Chromebooks have access really to their Google Docs and Drive and the internet, which is heavily filtered and monitored. So we don't see a lot of issues with this anymore, like it used to be when the internet and connectivity was kind of a newfangled thing, if you will. Today, it's not even acceptable not to have a connection somewhere. So it's.
So we spent quite a bit of time talking about those particular things here, and specifically making sure that people realize that the computers and things belongs to the Career Development Center, and that the rights to those computers and the internet classes that we have on that belongs to the Career Development Center. So there's no privacy out there for that, because we have a right to be able to look at those particular things. And we also talked about being able to, if need be, and someone didn't have a computer at home, that we would probably find a way to be able to have them get a loaner or something to take home with them, even though the whole schools may have that provided to them. But there was quite a bit of discussion on that. So.
Any other discussion? Oh,
Just out of curiosity, did Frank Barnes get to weigh in on any of this?
No. Frank weighed in on the one that we had on SVSU.
Okay.
And I was on that committee, so. weighed it in on us.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? All in fa, oh, wait a minute. Yes, we made the motion, didn't we?
I thought we did.
Yeah.
No, we never did, have we? I think.
I'll move
I
it,
think-
Ken seconded it.
There you go. Randy made the motion, Ken seconded it. Any further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? That is policy 6141C. It has been warned.
Okay. There were some other things that we
Go ahead.
did at the committee meeting, just to let you know that we were live and active out here. There was, we had before us the organizational chart that we have put down at 71, and we recommend that that be put into the 2000 piece. If you look at the minutes from our, that will be joined in with another particular part of a policy to better explain or illustrate how this school operates. I mean, in terms of a drawing and a diagram. So that's over there. And then we did spend some time on village use in terms of the use of this particular building by groups and so forth. And I have some unfinished business that I need to cover with the superintendent along that line in terms of the rationale behind these. Some things that we wanted to probably change in that before we bring it before the committee. So those were the crux of the things that we need. And I do want to appreciate the people that came to the meeting and participated, because we have to have a functional committee to be able to hammer out the types of things that need to be, so that when we show up as a board at this committee, this meeting, as a board as a whole, we're able to explain what it is that we want to have in the directions of the policies, and for administrators to follow and for students to be able to follow. And so the input is very important for these subcommittees to be meeting, discussing these things in detail before we get here. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Okay, that moves us on to you, I believe.
Okay.
Superintendent's report.
I'm going to turn over the first part of my report to Becky Tattersall. On your table, there should be a very bright orange colored piece of paper. It's the paper that I grabbed at the time. So proposing a timeline as we move into budget season.
Yeah.
And this is in draft form, and I'll let Becky present to you what she's put together.
Excellent.
So found on the paper again is, I kind of started from the voting date, if you look at the very bottom, March 3rd, and I kind of worked our way backwards to kind of figure out a time frame to be able to put the budget together, when we might need particular meetings or committees to get together for discussion. And it brings us right back to November, is where all of this is going to begin. And I'll begin with the teachers submitting their needs and their requests at the beginning of November. And then what I'm asking for is potentially some dates with the Finance Committee to be able to meet. Looking at the paper, I'm looking at November 18th and December 2nd, which are not regular RGB board meeting dates. So these would be above and beyond when you normally would be coming to the building, to try to meet and discuss where we are with the budget. Trying to look at maybe meeting during the daytime if people are available, say 10:30 in the morning, to do some discussion with the Finance Committee meetings. So the two dates that you see there, November 18th and December 2nd, would be extra meetings. Then on December 9th, we have a regular RGB meeting, so I'm hoping that maybe we could meet with the Finance Committee prior to our regular RGB meeting, and maybe meet with the Finance Committee at 5 o'clock. The goal of that meeting would be to be able to bring to the full board the budget to be adopted, and talking and voting on the announced tuition that I have to bring forth in January. If for some reason there's a lot of discussion and there is a need to meet again prior to January, and that's only if it's needed, would be a special meeting on December 16th, again at 6 o'clock for the RGB board and at 5 o'clock for the finance committee. And that's only to, again, try to adopt the budget and vote on the announced tuition if we weren't successful on the regularly scheduled date. So that's kind of a need basis, otherwise we won't have that meeting. And then that brings us to the first of the year, January 13th. It's a regular RGB meeting. At that point, I'm hoping the board would be ready to approve the ballot. And by the 15th, I actually have to announce tuition to sending districts, so we would just review that one more time to make sure, and then send that information. That would lead us to the 27th is when I would have to have the warning to be posted at town clerk's office. The 31st of January, the annual report should be available. And then March 2nd is our scheduled floor meeting, and March 3rd would be our at-large voting date. So I'm looking at only a couple of, right now, hopefully only a couple of meetings that are not regularly scheduled meetings, and those would be those first two, November 18th and December 2nd. And so I'm just hoping that there could be some discussion as to whether those dates would work with the Finance Committee, and if we need to make some changes to the time, but looking at potentially 10:30 each of those dates.
How long do you think each meeting will take? I know that's an open question, but...
It is, I mean, based on our past, our past track record with working through the budget, I would say no more than an hour, hour and 15 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer. We've been, a lot of this is, I like to think back to putting this together and laying this timeline out all the way to March, which is important. And we're certainly flexible on these first dates and times. We're just, what works best for the Finance Committee. I know that's different for everybody, so, but I don't anticipate them being longer than an hour or so, each one. So.
Yeah, we also have teacher negotiations and ESP, and they're supposed to meet, I've seen the schedule on that, Thursdays.
Yes.
On that, so.
I have that right.
Is there any problem with the two special meetings, November 18th and December 2nd? Is 10:30 a problem for anybody?
I'm fine with that.
10:30 at night.
No. No.
At your house.
Oh, I just want to be flexible.
You can have a meeting at somebody's private residence as long as you announce it and invite everybody
Yeah.
there.
If you want to be there at 10:30 p.m., it's up to you guys. I'm not sure that I'll be able to attend that.
So I'll throw it back to you, but are you done with this, Becky? I mean, it's great. It's nice to have laid right out for us. No questions asked. Anybody have any comments on it, or
It's a good idea.
further discussion? I think it's a great report.
I keep the dates and everything, I mean, they may change, but I think for right now, just leave them as is.
Just to get everybody thinking and kind of looking at the plan books and knowing what's coming up and, hopefully
Right.
making some.
I think,
So who's
I don't
chairs
have
that
it in
committee?
front of me, but there was a released tentative schedule for teacher
Yes.
negotiations.
it's-
Or was it ESP? I don't remember.
It's both.
It's both.
Oh.
It's both, yeah.
And they're going to be on Thursdays, starting October 17th, scheduled through the 1st of November at this point for the
Yeah.
teachers. And for the ESP, it's the same schedule, just different times in the afternoon.
So who's the chair of the finance committee, may I ask?
I think it's Fran, I believe.
I didn't know if I was or
No,
not.
you volunteered me.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Fran can have it if he wants it.
Well, I just, so
It
Ed
doesn't
will be
matter.
taking the lead
Yeah, Ed will
on
take the
that
lead.
and trying to help direct those particular efforts on that particular. Right. Okay.
We have put a few people actually on finance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very active.
Have a good
committee
showing, let's put it that way.
For 2 or 3 months, I mean, it's a very active committee.
Very active.
Yeah. And Mike, I think you also introduced a schedule of programs and things that gotta be done to the building, or maybe for equipment and stuff too.
Yes, the
Take into
5-year plan for
Yeah.
vehicles and equipment and
Facilities.
facility repairs
Yep.
and all that kind of
That
stuff,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Never-ending
Oh, yeah.
battle. All right, so we will, we'll keep the dates, tentative dates for now, and I'll have Sandy schedule these meetings and check with the finance committee as it gets closer to those dates and see if
Yep.
that still works, and if not, we can massage it one way or the other and see what works best. All right. Thank you, Becky. Also, it's copied and it should be in your Dropbox. I want to thank Ken for sending me an article that was posted in the Berkshire Eagle a couple weeks ago. And it was about a first-in-the-nation automotive program collaboration with Toyota and Lexus. And so Ken had forwarded me the article. I read it with some interest. I wasn't really sure much about it. I spoke with Tom Haskins, our auto instructor, and he said, oh, I'd not heard of that, but I'll get in contact with somebody about it and take a look at it. So this has just been a couple weeks. I'm happy to let you know that we are going to be part of I'm going to read this to you, the Toyota and Lexus, it's called the TEX program, which stands for Technician Education, College Support, and High School as well. This allows students to become Toyota maintenance level certified technicians through our automotive program, which promotes employment opportunities for Toyota and Lexus, and for students to be able to receive an additional industry credential. It also comes with some Toyota informational systems and support, some online library and training information, and other equipment possibilities and things down the road. So that's a big, our auto program already is fully ASC certified and has all of the certifications that are available, but this is one more path for students from Toyota, which I think is a really, and the one in Pittsfield was the first one in the nation, so I had not heard of it before, quite frankly. And Tom's pretty excited about it. I've seen him, he's filled up the paperwork, and we're just kind of waiting to hear from Toyota and Lexus about what the next steps are with that. So I'm really happy about
They
that.
provide the equipment to Toyota.
They provide some equipment and other additional training opportunities for the kids, as long as they're 16 years old or older. So that's the only real caveat to it. So that's one more, feather in the cap, if you will, for one of our programs. Also, if you had not had a chance to stop by North Branch Street, we are fully underway on our next Habitat House with our building trades program. I believe the walls are already up over there, and we're moving along at a much faster schedule this year. Habitat was able to get the foundation and everything in much earlier, right when school started. So this time last year, we were still waiting for the foundation, and it took a little longer. We didn't quite finish as much as we would have liked to. We have a lot of field trips that are coming up. Local daytime field trips, as well as college trips to both VTC, Hudson Valley, you name it. Lisa Harrington has been setting those up for us. The annual Women Can Do conference is next Thursday at Randolph Tech Center. We do have 18 students going, and only 2 of those are current students. The rest of those are prospective students from Mount Anthony, Arlington, Burton, and Hoosick Falls. So we do that every single year. It's an awesome event, so we are doing that. And, school is now in full session. I think we've all kind of settled in a little bit since the hectic start of the school year, which is always the case. And so we're never on cruise control, but I think we feel like we're, getting up at the time now, coming in, we're living to the bell schedule, and everyone's kind of settled in. So I will have your enrollment report for you for next month. The snapshot is taken on October 15th, which is just around the corner. As I said, we do have about 430 students enrolled this semester. Again, what that's going to be for an FTE count, I can't tell you, until we count the minutes. So Becky and I have spoken. We're hopeful that that'll be somewhere in the mid to high 160s. That would be my guess. I'd be very, very pleased with that. But that is just a guesstimate. It's really until Tiffany actually does the programming and counts all the minutes in the database, we just don't know, what that really looks like, other than just quick math on the paper. So I'll have that for you for next month. Those numbers will be finalized by November 15th. They have to be out to the superintendents in a couple weeks to be verified, get sent back to us, and it goes through that kind of whole process. I am meeting on October 22nd up in Middlebury with the other two independent school districts, Springfield and River Valley, which is in Springfield, and Patricia Hannaford, which is in Middlebury. As you know, we were awarded the Act 189 grant, which was talking about, you know, potential new funding structures and changing regulations around access to CTE. We were only two centers chosen in the state that had applied for it. And so it's moving a little slower than I'd like, but that's okay. This could really be some systemic change for CTE statewide by changing some of the regulations that we're currently bound by that are pretty archaic. You know, they haven't been revised in probably 20 years or more. And everything's on the table, from, you know, different types of funding to funding streams to legislative changes. You know, it's all out there. And so I'm really excited that we're going to be part of that process in order to enhance access for kids to come to the center. And not just the center, quite frankly, all 16 centers in the state. You know, we're really kind of blazing the way for that, and I'm really proud of that. Last week we toured the new principal and vice principal from Hoosick Falls. They're both new this year. Superintendent Patrick, who was the principal for many years at Hoosick Falls, is still a huge supporter of our CTE programs. And, you know, it's all about the funding and what they can afford to send us with the out-of-state tuition. And that is part of, you know, one of the recommendations in the Act 189 proposal is for some way for Hoosick Falls School District to be either part of our sending district, part of our economic region, something, so there can be some sort of relief for them. Springfield deals with the same thing with Fall River over in New Hampshire, or Fall Mountain, I always get those confused. He has a similar problem. You know, there's a lot of students that want to come, but it's a funding issue. And that also doesn't necessarily mean students, you know, coming just one way across the border. You know, I know Hoosick Falls is talking about adding some additional tech programs that we don't have. They don't want to compete with us, but there's not everything we can offer. You know, one of the things I know they're talking about is doing a diesel tech program. And there's no reason that students can't flow. You know, it's 5 miles that way, both ways, quite frankly. And it's really nice to work with Hoosick Falls. You know, they're not about competing with anything at all. They just want access for their kids. I met this morning with Sarah Merrill for about 2.5 hours up in Arlington, and we're talking about current planning and future planning for more kids to come down here, and for us to also to go up there with some more expanded classes. So, you know, there's been a lot of meetings lately, quite frankly, but I feel like that we are continuing to make progress both for current and for future. When I say future, you know, not just 6 months, a year, you know, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road for the center. So it's really refreshing to have those conversations with sending schools and, you know, planning our way for things. I'm also happy to report to you that the driver's education class is full, and it will start in 2 weeks. So the final applications were due on Friday. Payments are due tomorrow. I know Rob's been on the horn with students and getting those in there. So, you know, we've had a lot of interest, as we talked about at the last meeting, and so it's going to go. So we're excited about that. You know, so that's pretty much the end of my report. Unless you have questions, you know, there's just so much going on. I would encourage the public and our board, you know, to pay attention to our Facebook page. Our web page is currently undergoing redevelopment, so you're going to see some new enhancements there, particularly through adult and continuing education. Our Twitter account, our Instagram, etc. So, you know, Nicole does a really great job of keeping that stuff on top and current all the time. So,
When you get to meet with the other two technical districts, I'd like to see a proposal to simplify the formation of an interstate school district.
it's on the table. You know,
The legislation is very complex.
yes.
And all the steps you have to take to form such a district are impossible to meet the way they're written, but it'd be neat to be able to make Hoosick Falls and Cambridge part of this district
Or whatever by means for them to come here for easier and less money, yes. That would be the goal. And one thing that I forgot to tell you is we hosted about 22 people 2 weeks ago. for the governor's capital for a day. It was mostly focused around workforce and education, and adult education. But we were also visited by the Deputy Secretary of Education, Heather Boucher. She was here last year, and she was very complimentary about what we're doing at the center. She clearly knew what was going on here. She had talked about our CDL program and the driver's ed, and she was very thankful that we're one of the schools who applied to be part of this innovation grant for 189, and just very complimentary about what she saw last year and continuing to know what she saw this year and what she hears is going on, and urged us to continue to fight the good fight and do what's best for students. And it was nice to hear. They weren't solicited comments, they were genuine, and it's just a good reminder of what we do. So,
I'm glad to hear Montpelier's paying attention to us.
Somebody is, and I hope all for good reasons, it sounds like. So, but yeah, so that was
Are you
nice.
wearing that simulator?
Yes, it's been ordered, and we've made the first payment on it, because we had to put out the money first.
Right.
And it's been ordered, and that also has to be manufactured, so I understand that's gonna be a while to be here as well. Nothing's on the shelf anymore, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, so, Becky, did they have an estimated delivery date on that?
No, Rob was going to call again today to see if we could get an estimated date. We do not have one yet. We were required to pay half up front, and then they would start the manufacturing process, and we've done the check, it's been cashed, and so they're in the process of developing it. Then we need to pay the other half, and then we would be able to submit for the reimbursement through the grant. But at this point, we don't have a delivery date.
We'll probably have the bus first, I guess.
That's what I'm thinking.
Speaking of CDL, I had somebody mention in passing to me that there's a federal requirement that requires people getting a CDL to be able to drive a stick and not just an automatic. And you can get a CDL with an automatic and drive certain
So there are restrictions on the
vehicles,
vehicles.
and I just wondered if that's been...
Yep, so there is a restriction placed on licenses based on the vehicle in which you were trained in, whether it's automatic or standard. Our vehicles are standard shift, and so students who train on a standard shift automatically have the endorsement for an automatic. So
Cool.
We don't have any automatic.
I
didn't-
For the CDL
I didn't
vehicles,
know
they're
that,
not
but I'm
automatic.
glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Yep, they're both, we've affectionately called it Big Red now, but our international truck, I don't know how many gears it has, 18 or something, I don't even attempt to get into it. And the black dump truck, the Louisville, that also has a standard transmission.
Perfect.
The only ones that have automatic are our smaller vehicles, like the small dump truck and things like that. So they are training on, so they won't have a restriction on their license.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
so. That's what I have.
Okay, great. Yes.
I just want to, I mentioned before, thank the person that came up with the idea of, with our agenda, we have these links. We just click on them and we get to the warnings and we get to the field trips or whatever it is. It really makes life so much easier than trying to go through that Dropbox and finding each thing.
So I will say this has been a collective effort, and we are transitioning, for those that have older iPads and things, we've tested a couple different devices, and I think that, we're probably going to go with a more traditional Chromebook or for folks, if they want it, but we are trying an effort to make the links that are live within the agenda so that you can click on it. It certainly is not foolproof with the Dropbox and the iPad, and I learned that the hard way this afternoon because I lost all the links in on the agenda. So I think I had them all restored now. They work on my computer, but so we are transitioning, but thank you, Ken. I think it seems to be probably a little bit easier for folks, and Sandy had passed that along, so yeah, we're working on it.
Good. Any other discussion?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
I have a heated one. Our meeting schedule for this meeting is 6 o'clock or 6:30 that we all voted on.
6.
I'm sorry, 6.
I thought it was 6,
Yeah.
not 6:30. It was 6:30 last year.
Well, we had 6:30 a couple times, but
It was six,
It was six.
it was six, yeah, last year. We changed the week because of some conflicts, and we ended up having to flip-flop because it's, we might as well, I don't know, stick with our original, but it is at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I wanted to make sure, because it makes a difference in trying to set up these committee meetings.
Yes, it does.
In trying to get here early enough, and we keep moving things up earlier and earlier. And when we do that, we have less and less board members able to attend certain things to be able to discuss those. So we have to be mindful of the time that we're trying to do all these things and the dates, because we got a lot of things coming up that we're trying to manage. And I just wanted to make sure that if we're saying we're on 6 o'clock, I wanted to try to make sure I had a permanent time. I did for policy,
Right.
but then education wanted to meet, or somebody else wanted to meet, and then I said, okay, well, I wanted to give leeway for them, and I'll try to move the policy committee, and then I'm not sure that the education committee is meeting in that slot prior to this one, and so I could have been meeting
Right.
had I known that. So I needed to have the chair think about what's happening so we can schedule some permanent meeting dates. It's important that we, it's important to me, and it should be important in terms of the policy committee, because this is our number one duty, is to direct the board by way of policies. And so behind that, we have other things that we are asked to look at in terms of finance and education, but we turn mainly the education part over to the superintendent and the director in terms of managing that in accordance with the education requirements, but we don't give a free hand when it comes to the finance of all the things that needs to happen. And the finance committee need to be meeting and talking about long-range plans and things along that line, so that we can better be prepared for that and not discuss it right at the last minute at this meeting. So that's my comment out there. There is a regional meeting, school board meeting. We're gonna hold it here in this building.
I'll have to double check with Sandy on that.
I thought they were gonna, yeah, it is scheduled for this room here.
That's what I thought too.
And I don't know, I didn't write the date.
I think there's one in Manchester too, isn't there?
Because there's one, I saw something from
Yes.
Manchester.
Manchester Elementary.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw some from Manchester, but earlier I saw that it was going to be here at this, in this location. And so I want to encourage everybody to attend that, especially those that are new, so that you can get a chance to meet other school board members around the region in the area to discuss things with the School Board Association. And then the next thing that I got is the annual school board meeting, which is November the 7th and 8th up at Lake Maury. And I plan to go to that and have somebody else pay for it. Besides the Career Development Center, I just want you to know that. Art will probably be going, I'm not sure, and Fran, I don't know whether you're going to go, but it's a good opportunity to talk about with all the rest of the school board members throughout, and administrators and others, to hear keynote speakers and attend many classes concerning education around the state of Vermont and so forth, and learn about best practice. So I would urge you to sign up for this board, the Career Development Center. Be more than happy to pay for you to go and stay the 7th and 8th of November along that line. So those are my comments for tonight.
I only have
Thank you. Great comments.
one quick thing to add about dialing in with board members that couldn't physically be here. I had one board member text me during the meeting here saying, I dialed in, but the system hung up on me
I'll look into that.
and wouldn't let her
Great.
call back again.
Okay, thank you.
So the next meeting's the 4th, right? November 4th,
It's November, the first Monday.
Monday the
Yes.
4th.
Yeah.
Yes, Monday the 4th.
Any other business? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Franny made the motion, Ken made the second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Good night, all.